Stanley Milgram, he was a Yale professor who ran an experiment with his students back in 1963. He was a son of Jewish immigrants, and he was really disturbed by what happened during the horrors of the Holocaust, where a lot of people justified their actions by simply saying, hey, I was just following orders of the superior authority. So he really wanted to see what the true impact really is of authority. So he made a very simple experiment and told the participants that they were going to be contributing to a study around learning and memory. Participants were then grouped into two different groups, the teacher and the learner. They could communicate with each other, they could hear each other, but they could not see each other. And then he asked the teacher group to administer electric shock to the learner group if they get something wrong in the memory test. So whenever the learner made a mistake on the memory test, an electric shock was administered from the other room by the teacher. What's interesting to note is that majority of the participants, right, continued on to the very end of the experiment where the strongest shock was being administered. Now, in reality, the shock was fake, right? The learner group knew as much. But the teacher group, they did not know that the shocks were going to be fake, right? They were, in their mind, administering real shock. So what Milgram concluded with the study is that with great regularity, right, otherwise good people would give in to authority and perform actions that could be severe and even damaging. Now, let's actually take a look at a clip of this experiment to see how it played out.
Wrong. Wrong. Votes 135. Answer woman. N. White cloud. Horse, rock, house. Answer. Wrong. 150 volts. Answer. Horse.
Experiment, that's all. Get me out of here. I told you I had heart trouble. My heart's starting to bother me now. Get me out of here, please.
Continue, please. Go right on.
I refuse to go on. Let me out.
Refuses to go on.
The experiment requires you continue, teacher. Please continue. The next word is sad.
Want me to keep going?
Continue, please.
Oh, sad. Sad. Face, music, clown, girl. Correct. Next one, short. Sentence, movie, skirt, time. Answer, please. Wrong. Under 65 volts. Time.
Let me out.
That guy's hollering in there.
Continue, please. Go on.
Well, there's a lot of them here, you have a heart condition there. You want me to go?
Just continue, please.
Sharp. Axe, needle, stick, blade. Answer, please. Wrong. Nice. I'm up to 180 volts.
Please continue, teacher.
Needle, you're going to get a shock. 180 volts.
I can't stand the pain. Let me out of here.
Can't stand it. I'm not going to kill that man there. You hear him hollering?
As I said before, the shocks may be painful, but they're not dangerous.
They're hollering. He can't stand it. What if something happens to him?
The experiment requires that you continue, teacher.
Yeah, but I'm not going to get that man sick in there. I mean, he's hollering in there. You know what I mean?
Whether the learner likes it or not, we must go on until he's learned all the word
I
pairs.
refuse to take the responsibility of him getting hurt in there. I'm not going to, he's under hollering.
It's absolutely essential that you continue, teacher.
There's too many left here, and geez, he gets wrong here. There's too many of them left. Who's going to take the responsibility if anything happens to that gentleman?
I'm responsible for anything that happens here. Continue, please.
All right, next one, slow. Walk, dance, truck, music. Answer, please. Wrong. 195 volts. Dance.
By looking at this experiment clip, we could easily just say, oh, but that was like back then. That doesn't happen now. It's not going to happen in today's world. Certainly, we as humans have evolved since then, haven't we? I'm afraid I actually have bad news. In 2010, a French TV show, inspired by Milgram Experiment, put something similar together. It was a game show where the person administered electric shocks if somebody on the other end got the answers incorrect. And they were also told that the intensity of the shock is going to increase as the levels in the game increases. They were also informed that at the highest levels, the shock can actually cause harm to the people getting the shock. Majority of the participants in the game show didn't even hesitate, right, before administering the light shocks. Now, as the shocks progressed, right, some of the people started to being a little bit hesitant. They were a little bit distressed. Some people chose not to do it, but there was a good chunk of people who actually continued on all the way through, giving shocks that were actually going to cause physical harm. The reason why these people continued was the game show host urged the participants to continue on and administer the shocks, almost giving them like permission or authority. And under that authority or that so-called permission, people actually continued on giving stronger and stronger electric shocks to the other participants who were getting the questions wrong. Now, this was obviously, not real. The people receiving the shocks were just actors. It was all just a game show experiment just to see if people would follow through. But isn't it interesting to note that even in 2010, people actually continued on and listened to authority? It's almost disturbing to see how people would obey authority, even if it goes against their own values and intent. And this is the main reason why power hierarchies exist in this world today, despite our best wishes to change them. As humans, we have this tendency to obey authority, but we really need to be cautious and careful to its temptations. I mean, we learned this just in 2020. Look what happened with the whole COVID crisis, right? Whatever the authority was telling people to do, people obeyed. They simply did. Now, if I told you 10 years ago that there's no way people are going to be locked inside their homes, forced to close their businesses, have to wear a mask, and forced to take a shot or a jab or risk losing their job, in the face of authority, majority of the people obeyed. So what I'm trying to say is we need to be alert to these temptations of authority and notice when other people or other governments per se are using this authority to get you to do the things that might not be in alignment with your values and intentions. We need to take a step back and question authority and their true motives. We all would like to think if this happens today, we would rebel, right? The people would rebel, but we learned that in 2020. People did not rebel. Majority of the people complied. So history tells us a different story. We need to be alert to its temptations.